Okay. I just got through working with a group of principals in hmm, I'm from Michigan, so I'm gonna have to remember, but I believe maybe the Toronto area. They had a female principals group, and we spent about 2 months doing a case study on how they could use AI. So
Me. What part of Michigan?
I am in Taylor, Michigan, about 25 minutes outside of Detroit.
Which direction? Towards Ann Arbor?
Nope, the other way. I'm towards the Ohio border. So if you know, I'm right by the border, driving 75 into Ohio.
Gotcha.
All righty. Well, and please look at the chat. You get to know who you're in the room with. And I'm going to go ahead and jump in. So as you can see, everyone should see my screen is being shared. And tonight we're talking about how we can use AI to amplify school communication and collaboration. And I thank you for showing up and being a part of this. And as we get started, we want to do our land acknowledgments. I really appreciate the opportunity to do that. Given that I'm not from Canada, I did look and research Michigan's land acknowledgments. So I just want to acknowledge that and say, we recognize Michigan's 12 federally recognized Native nations, historic indigenous communities in Michigan. Indigenous individuals and communities who live here now and those who were forcibly removed from their homelands. In offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm indigenous sovereignty, history, and experiences. Now, the tools, welcome, come on in. You can share in the chat where you hail from and what your role is in education. Now, the tools used in this webinar may not be approved by your local board or school district. We know that everybody is in different places. Some are jumping head in, some are saying, okay, we want to take a more cautious approach, a planful approach, or, it's all over the place right now. But tonight, these tools, just think about, how you can use them for yourself in your roles, I think. And then depending on your district, you may be able to roll it out even more. So my name is Madeline Black, and I am here to just really make sure individuals can reach their full potential. And I'm really excited about the generative AI because in my mind, it just really gives you some time back, some different things you can do to go deeper and really drive experiences for yourself and your learning communities. And we're really focusing on tonight of how we can harness the power of AI, as I said, to elevate your communication and collaboration in your school community. So that's your question. And the outcomes, which are no surprise, you signed up for this session. We want to identify and categorize key school communication needs. And then we want to also design AI driven prompts and content creation in school communications. So this is a hands-on professional learning. I'm going to give you time to actually go into ChatGPT and play around, and hopefully we'll get some ahs and oohs, or I didn't think about it that way as part of this presentation. But again, things we're focusing on, how you can send updates, how you can organize meetings, newsletters, communication, things you do every day in your role in education. So in the chat, if you could share, have you tried using generative AI? Or if you like, I have never, you can put that in there to enhance your communication and collaboration in your community. So let's just survey the room. You can put it in the chat. It's only a few of us. If somebody wants to really expound on how they use it, feel free to take this time to do that. Or you could just put it in the chat. Oh, great. I love when someone's never used it. It's always so fun. Lisa, you're going to really be excited tonight. Oh, and you're an executive assistant to the superintendent. All righty, Lisa. I think you're going to get a lot out of this. How about everyone else? Okay, Chris, I've used it to prove. Okay. Okay. All right. That's awesome. It does that very well. And Copilot. Okay. Copilot, we're going to talk not a lot about it tonight, but just so you know, Copilot is integrated into the Microsoft applications. So it's like having that generative AI we're going to talk about tonight right in the applications. Okay, so it seems like we have the whole gamut. No experience to some experience. Oh, and someone we have an advanced user and to write some code. Great. Multiple tools to create content, automate tasks, and write code. Wow. So this is I hope you get some things out of this tonight. I think you will, and maybe you can help join the conversation. I'm glad to have an experienced user in here because we could talk about some of the advanced things you can do with AI. Okay. So the first thing, for those who've never used it, I just wanted to go over what actually generative AI is. And I promise we'll get to some hands-on in a moment. So generative AI is just artificial intelligence. It's used to create content, audio and code, images. It's really taking all that information that's out there in the cyber world and actually it creates it, and we're going to talk about some of the things it creates and how to make sure that you check and you're mindful of what it's creating, because just like with us as humans, we can make things up or we can create things and we want to be creative. So generative AI attempts to generate reasonable continuation. That's how it works. That's the magic. It's basically looking at the vast amounts of data from billions of web pages, digital text. And as you get advanced, you can actually train it with your own documents. So instead of going out to the internet, grabbing all those information, you can set it up with source documents that you have to make it use those first and pull information from that. Any questions about that? And let me say, anytime during this presentation, if you want to jump on and ask a question or you have a comment, please do not hesitate. Now, this is called a large language model. You'll hear that. And it's just a database that's trained to identify and predict patterns in language. That's what it's doing. It's looking at the words, it's looking at the patterns, and then it's making some suggestions based on that. And then they split these things into characters or words or subwords, and they call these tokens. Um, and it determines the relationships among these and is able to actually put out some information once it merges that all together. But the key thing that I want you to keep in mind tonight, that it's the human prompting. A lot of people will say, well, this chat GPT, some people have different feelings about it. We're not going to get in that tonight. But what we really want to talk about is that it requires the human. And the human use comes in with how you prompt it, how you use it. And there's different types of AI. You have generative AI, which we're going to be looking at tonight. We're going to be using ChatGPT. You're going to get some experience with that. Or if you have another model that you want to try tonight, you could while we're doing this. But I would like for you to use ChatGPT, and I'm going to show you how to get into that free version. Then we also have some pre-trained ones, more ones that kind of sit above what we're going to do tonight. Those are things you may have heard of, like Magic School or School AI. It's more controlled in some of the prompting. It's created for you, some of those prompts. And then Transformer goes back in with generative. That is basically it's what we're doing with the generative. It's transforming and it's generating human-like text. So this is what, if everybody agrees to, is what you should agree to as school leaders. Especially I think about who shared that. Let me look back in the chat. That's why I asked you to share, but let's see. Who is that? Who said that? Oh, Lisa. So think about it. Clear communication, truthful communication requires that we verify AI outputs. We want to make sure that they align with our standards and values. So in your role, I'm sure you deal with a lot of communications from the superintendent perhaps and different things. So I think some of the things you learn here, you want to make sure that it aligns with whatever, you're using it for in your school district. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment a day where generative AI or AI is actively supporting your communication in your school. What kind of tasks or challenges would you like AI to help you with? So if you would like to come on the mic, I like when people talk and we can, go back and forth. But if you feel more comfortable in the chat, please do that. But what are some of the things you communicate with, use on a daily basis? What do you do on a daily basis with communication that you think this might help with?
Hi, it's Lisa. I do memos and newsletters and policies and procedures.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to use it for things like when we do daily announcements, acknowledging different cultural days of significance or something. Quite often, if I don't have the expertise, I'll use generative AI to develop an announcement and then take it to someone who has a little bit more knowledge to have them kind of ensure its accuracy or edit it for me.
Okay. Are there some things you haven't used it for?
In terms of communication,
That you think, man, I've never thought about that.
I'm always hesitant to use it for to have it generate emails for me. I probably should get a little more comfortable with that and follow the same process, have it generate and then edit and so on. But I haven't used it for that yet. I'm a little bit gun shy to have it speak for me.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about that tonight and how you could train it to kind of have that tone or what you want. But that's great because we're gonna wade into that a little bit. Okay, anybody else? Let me see. We have someone in the chat. Okay, you had to create. Oh, assisted with creating AI guidelines. That's great. Okay. So the challenges in traditional communication, you have time delays, inconsistent messaging, language barriers, other things of that nature that AI can, oh good, both Chat GPT and Copilot someone's used. I would love to hear some of the comparisons we could talk about later if we have time. But this tool will allow you to actually free up time for other things. I mentioned earlier that I worked with a principals group recently in Canada. And what they said was it allowed them to spend more time doing other things like talking to parents or, having jumping right into a meeting and being able to be they used it for professional learning to use differentiation to help with their teaching staff, whatever they were teaching. One even used it to develop a whole professional development based on something they had been charged with to develop the staff. So we want to see if this is true, if it can really help us with these things. And I would say this, language barriers. You can do translations with it. You could say, well, I used to do that with, what is it called? Google Translate. But if there is, we're going to talk about it tonight, a paid version of ChatGPT and a free version. That's with all of these tools. But with the paid version, I've done something recently that I didn't think about until I was on the fly. I was recently around, you driving in an Uber and someone speaks a different language. I thought I would give it a try. And one of the principals I worked with used it with one of her families. You can use it on your phone and you can say to it with prompting, I have a friend who speaks Spanish, or I'm talking to a parent who speaks Spanish. Could you please translate my English into Spanish? Don't read back to me what I said. You don't have to do that. And then also, what they say in Spanish, translate back to me. And it is so seamless that it aids with the conversation. So you think about being able to sit down with, parents who speak another language and take that relationship to a whole nother level. Have any of you tried to use it for a similar purpose such as that?
Not yet. We've been just using translation apps on our iPhones. Haven't
Yeah.
used it. I guess that's a type of AI, but still.
Yeah, it is. Okay. All righty. So how does generative AI support you? It's quick content creation. We talked about the newsletters, announcements. We're going to look at those emails tonight, Chris. Streamline responses. And I really love the frequently asked questions. We're going to look at how to do that because how many times in your role, I can think about being an assistant to the superintendent. How many people roll into the office and you hear that same question over and over again, and you give the same answer over and over again in all of our roles. So how can we use it to help with that? So this is very important. try to develop an AI first mindset. And that means, go ahead, welcome, Eunice. So what you want to do is when I say AI mindset, I mean, have it open on your desktop, right? Keep that window open. And when you get ready to do something, think about, let me put it into ChatGPT or or Copilot or whatever, tool you're using, just to give it a whirl really quick to see what it does. And that will open up different opportunities. That's how I thought about the translation. It's been different things that I've done personally that it's really helped me with. And I did that by just having it open and say, okay, I'm gonna throw it in there, see what I get. So you have to have that curiosity and be open just to see what it generates. So really work hard on developing an AI first mindset. Has anybody tried that? Just leaving it open throughout the day?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, good. And it works for you, right? I'm sure. Have you found some things that, oh, didn't know that, wouldn't have thought of that?
Yeah, like if it's open, then it's always kind of there, and you're thinking, okay, can I do this through that? And sometimes, if I got the time, I'll try, and sometimes I know that it'll take a little bit, so I'll just go about the old way. But it's there in front of me.
Yep. Great, great. That's a great, you're ahead of the game, Chris. All right. So using Gen AI for communication. So a couple tools we've talked about in the chat. Some people said they've used the Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT. A lot of schools have used Canvas. They have a magic design in there where you can prompt it to create images, slide decks, same with, Copilot. And then Grammarly, I put that up there because it is generative. They have components, but we're very familiar with Grammarly to, fix our spelling and, or a grammar mistake or composure, but it actually has AI in it now too to help you with your communications. I have not used Grammarly yet though. It's on the horizon. All right, so from theory to practice, we're going to actually jump in, and this is the part where you're going to actually go in and do some of these activities. We have 3 activities. Hopefully we should be able to get to all of them tonight. But the first activity, we want to draft a school newsletter or update. Then we're going to move into activity 2, creating responses for frequently asked questions. And then activity 3, drafting a sensitive communication message. I know that might sound scary, Chris. So prompt engineering. So what is prompt engineering? It's crafting prompts. It's an art form. There are classes, courses, how to speak to a chat bot, how to speak to generative AI. Because things you can say, acting as you are a principal in this area, you have to get comfortable. So it's basically how you would talk to a person. And this is a very important because this is different than Google. This is different than going into Google and say, hey, can you show me what a parent newsletter looks like or give me a sample of a parent newsletter? What are some good things to put into a parent newsletter? You can ask that on Google and it would give you some suggestions. But the difference is with prompt engineering is you can say, hey, this is what's happening at my school. These are some dates and times. This is, what it means to the community, and create a newsletter. And then when you get it back, you can modify, you can refine it. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to learn how to talk to it and how to create those engaging prompts. Any questions before we jump in? Who we have there? SM, are you going to ask a question or have a comment? Your mic came off. Okay. If you have it, just jump in when you're ready. Okay. All right. So caution before we get in there. Always, as Chris has said, review content carefully. Because ChatGPT, they call it hallucination. It may make up some things, and people say, well, that's a bad thing, but not really, because when we're creating, we want to make up something new. We want it to be creative, but we have to make sure review it to make sure that it is in alignment, like we said in the earlier slide, with our values, and that is accurate. And then this is very key in schools. Here in the US, we have FERPA laws, or how we protect student data. I can't stress enough how it's important when you put information out in the internet, like we already know, it's for everyone. So you can use this technology to look at student information, look at test scores. You could create graphs with it, but you have to be very careful of what you put for students' information. So don't put identifying information. Have some other way to, wipe that information that doesn't lead back to a student. Okay? And then check for tone and appropriateness. It should match you, right? And sometimes, like as Chris said, you can go in and write something, say, hey, make this a little more friendly. Or prompt engineering. Does this sound friendly? Or is there anything in what I just wrote that might be off-putting for a parent? You can ask those, you could query those type of questions based on the communication. You can also, let's see what we got here. Will we receive copy of the slides? This is great. Thank you. Yes, I will ask Dean. I'm sure he's going to send those out. I can't imagine that you wouldn't. And then also watch for bias. That's huge. A lot of people are concerned with bias around these tools that, for example, with images, when you do your image creation, sometimes it may lean more towards a certain ethnicity versus another. It may lean toward more be less diverse information. It may take it from one perspective over another. So you have to watch for bias that could be built into these tools. Because as we know, it's getting all the information actually up to April 2023 with ChatGPT 4. And we know with all that information out there, how much of it is leaned one way or maybe biased in another way. So you have to watch for that. And then be transparent when needed. And what does that mean? I'm of the mindset, if I can tell people I used ChatGPT to create this image that you see, or I used it. How did you use it? That's very key. Because if you're like, oh, I don't want nobody, I used it. I remember even like a year ago, 2 years ago, people were kind of quiet. Oh, am I wrong for using it? So think about that. Can you be forward with, yes, this is, I used it, and how did I use it? And just a quick, just caveat, for schools that are using this, and I'm not making any recommendation, but most of them have developed processes of how students use it, what ways, or this is how we're going to use it in the writing process. And I found that some schools are saying, turn away, don't use it at all. And some are jumping right in. So I do see this generative AI as being a new digital divide that can happen, that may become an equity issue of parents who can afford one thing and ones who can't, but I'm not going to get too far into that. But I just want to just put that on your mind. Be transparent. Now, we want to get set up to use this ChatGPT. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to navigate to OpenAI. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see it. And there is a version. When you get in there, it's going to take you right to the website. I'm going to bring it up. And you do not have to sign up. I think you get maybe 3 tries and some prompts. But you can go in and sign up for the free version and register. I will leave that to your comfort level. I think if you just do it from the website, you'll have enough for tonight. But if you want to take a moment to navigate to it and sign up for a free account, feel free to do that. So what I'm going to do is, let me screen share over here. I'm going to stop for a moment. And I'm going to bring up ChatGPT for you. Here it is. All righty. Let me go over here and screen share. All right. So when you go to OpenAI, if you just type in openai.com, it'll take you to the website. So you can go in and type in what you would like. Don't do anything yet. I'm going to go back in. But first, I want everyone to give me a thumbs up on the screen, or let me know once you've navigated to the screen. And if you're signing up, we can wait a few moments. I'm going to introduce the prompt. Okay, we got Lisa. She's all set. All right, we got Maureen. Okay. So I'm going to put this in the chat, and then I'm going to get started on the first prompt. So it gives time for those who may have questions. Oh, I couldn't quite get there. you know, something of that nature. So I put the link in the chat. And now I'm going to, then you can always hit on OpenAI if you, oops, there we go. All right. Now I'm going to go back to the presentation. And in here, we want to get started on our first prompt, activity 1. And like I said, I have time for others if you didn't navigate there yet. So a sample prompt, we want to draft a school newsletter and update. So here's the sample prompt. Create a brief newsletter update for parents, welcoming them to the new month. Include a note about upcoming events such as parent-teacher conferences. So you are going to modify this for yourself. Make it real as you can tonight. And a reminder of the spring field trip, a highlight of school recent achievement, or in the science fair. And I'm going to take this prompt. I'm going to actually leave out and highlight it for you. And I'm going to put it in the chat if you want to copy that and modify it from there to make it a little easier for you. You shouldn't have to type all that out. And I'm going to demonstrate what that looks like here. Any questions so far? Make sure we're all together. Oh, I sent a direct message. I apologize. I didn't put that into the chat. I want to put it for everyone. Sorry about that. There you go. And I'll put the website in there too. Somehow I got into a direct message. Okay, so I'm going to paste that in here. And actually, I'm going to go into the version of ChatGPT I have, which is the paid version, but the free version will work as well, because I'm not going to use any of the free version options. So let me share. I'm going to go over to this screen here. Screen 3. All right, so I'm going to paste that in here, and this is the paid version of ChatGPT. So let's see here. Oops, I want to get the prompt. Okay. Got the wrong one, sorry. There we go. Alrighty. There we go. Put the right prompt in there for you guys. All right, here we go. All right, give a brief newsletter update welcoming parents. There we go. That's pretty brief. So, welcome to a brand new month. We're excited to share some updates, reminders. Mark your calendars. Our parent conference's upcoming date. So now we can actually go in and put some other things in there if we would like. Actually, I'm in Canvas. Let me go back and get out of Canvas for a second. I'm going to do a new chat. I want to do, let me go back. ChatGPT 4. Okay. I was playing around with the new Canvas version. All right, there we go. All right, so put some information on parent-teacher conferences, mark your calendars with the date, spring field trip reminders, school highlights. Now, what are some other things that I can add in here? You can say some things like, please add information about any ideas that we might want to have to put in there, anything specific about robotics. Oh, go ahead. We have someone. Yes, suggestion.
I was just going to say, like, an upcoming musical.
About, okay, our upcoming musical. And why it would be great to have a strong presence from the community. Okay. Oh. Let me refresh. Okay. Uh-oh, what's happening to my chat GPT? There we go. So we're thrilled to invite you to upcoming school musical and showcase for our students hard work and creativity. It's a wonderful opportunity to celebrate with our strong community present makes a world of difference for encouraging, uplifting our students. So that's something I have to think about to write. I can put in there. So I'm going to give you a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes more. Hopefully you're in there trying it. Has everyone been able to successfully navigate to the OpenAI website and give it a try with the initial prompt? If you haven't, please let me know. I'm assuming that everyone's like so enthralled that that's why it's so quiet. Because it will suck you in.
Absolutely.
How you doing, Lisa?
I'm doing very well. I'm quite wowed, actually.
Good, good, good. That's what I want to hear. Maureen, you're still with us there? And Eunice? All right. Awesome. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, I thought I would ask, what would better appeal to indigenous tribes in our school? Because I know you have a lot, and that's a big concern. So let's just see what we get. Huh. Hmm. We've got about 2 more minutes, then we're gonna move on. Oh, yes, I am proud to create PD session for secondary teachers using the first time including slides. Wow. I added Ontario more detail. Awesome, awesome. Oh, an Indigenous language corner. Include a few words. I love that. Excuse me. I never thought about it. Indigenous, that's pretty cool. Okay. Okay. I'm sure you're into it. So if you could, pause. That's the danger of these. I believe me, I don't think take any offense. I know it's hard to bring you back because it's so eye-opening. You begin to think of all the things you can do. So that's when you want to go back and think about that AI mindset first. Just making sure I was recording. So let's have a quick reflection. How did you use using ChatGPT impact the time and effort you typically put into drafting newsletters? Or how could you see it helping with that? Or announcements? Just from your use tonight, looking at this question, how do you see it might be able, do you see the helpfulness? What have you garnered from this use tonight? In this one particular area?
I don't do a whole lot of newsletters, but I can absolutely see how it cuts down on time. I don't think I think we also need to keep in mind that though it cuts down on time, initially there's still going to be an investment in proofreading and then reformatting and so on and so forth. So you're still going to have to dedicate some time to, it's not going to be completely done, but I think it solves a bulk of the problem kind of off the bat.
Another thing that you can do, we're going to talk about tonight, take your current newsletters and you can, if you have the paid version, you can upload those and you can actually say, looking at my newsletters, what is missing from these newsletters compared to other newsletters out there? Is there anything that this particular newsletter that you will want to enhance or make better? That's another way to kind of backwards engineer your newsletters. Someone else? Okay. Well, we're going to move on to activity 2. If there's no more questions around this one, we're going to do another prompt that has deals with a different area. Activity 2, creating responses for frequently asked questions. So just to ask the room, again, you can share in the chat or you can, okay, with memos, absolutely with memos. So what are 5, and this goes right in line with memos, what are 5 common questions you receive from parents and students, staff, or staff frequently? Reflect for a minute. What are some things you feel like, didn't I answer that? Like, I answer this all the time. Lisa probably can relate to this.
I get a lot of questions that are mostly like, where do I find this? Like, where do I find this? Where does this live? How do I get there? It's mostly kind of directing people to where things are.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so if we look at like directing people where to go find something, teachers, they come in, how do I do this? Where is this located? And you don't want to, answer those things over and over again. So this is one, like for example, how do I register for after school programs? These type of things. So here's a prompt. We're going to write a friendly response. Oh, hey, Chris. We're going to write a friendly response to a parent asking about how to register their child for after school programs at our school. So a parent asks, how do I register a child for, after school programs at our school? So you want to do a prompt with that, but let's think about it for a moment. How could we make this more realistic tonight? What could you add to that prompt that may already exist out on the internet? No, Chris, you're talking. Yeah, but you're on mute. Yep.
I'm just muttering to myself, rereading the question. Sorry.
Yep.
Question we often get is, what school would my child go to if I moved to your area? And you just go to myschoolbus.com. So that's an easy one.
Okay. So for you, I will put that prompt in. Go ahead, play with your prompt and, create your prompt and say, hey, I work at XYZ school. Because it's out there right now already. I work at XYZ school. This is our school's website, right? How would parents register their child for XYZ? How would a parent do XYZ? Give me a response. And let use what's out there already about your schools. So I'm going to go over and give it a try and screen share. How many online learning credits does my child need to take to graduate in Ontario. That's great. That's a great prompt. I'm going to use that as an example. See what we get. And this is one of those things where we have to verify. Okay, let's go here. I'm going to start a new chat. Paste that in there. Oops. In the chat. Oh, it won't let you copy. Maybe. Nope. Okay, I'll type it. And feel free to go ahead and start playing. Okay. How would you, what if you get, I have a parent, watch this. I am a principal, and I have a parent who does not really understand or agree with the requirement. What would you write to help them with an understanding of why this is important? I'm terrible, terrible typer. There's one thing about ChatGPT, you don't have to be exact with your spelling. Okay, that's good enough. Okay. I appreciate your concerns on online education. As your partner, we want to ensure you have a clear understanding why it's in place. While that's come a significant education, modern workplace, blah, blah, blah. So, that's a time saver right there. Or you could just do, some speaking points. So then you could continue to refine it. I use Compine to help me with facts for online learning for parents and students. Okay. Parents do not care about the PPM 16. They just want to know why their child needs to do graduate and opt out possibility if needed. Can you explain that, Maureen, a little bit? I don't know what the PPM 167 is.
Sorry, that's for Ontario. It's one of our policies from the Ministry of Education. For every student currently in secondary, they have to have 2 online learning credits to
Okay.
graduate. And there is an opt-out
Oh,
ability for those that it wouldn't work for, but we really encourage students, if possible, to do it online because it will help them in whatever pathway they pursue as they go forward.
now, does anybody have the paid version of ChatGPT? Okay. It is, I'm not a salesperson. I just want to we're just looking at the free version right now tonight, but I want to just give you a quick thing that you can do. These chats are saved, so you could go back to them over and over again, but you notice I have a little paper clip here. You can actually upload documents for it to look at, and use that as your initial documents. And then also what you can do is you can actually, it's called Explore GPTs. You can create your own chat bot or your own chat GPT. And what you can do is actually put it on your websites or, different things of that nature. It's more advanced, but you can use it for yourself too, just with frequently asked questions. But if you're thinking, if you have teachers constantly, Lisa, I think of you, or people coming to you asking those same questions we talked about, you can actually create a chat and save it. So even back here where we're using the online requirement, you see it's a share button. You can actually share that chat and create a link and email it to someone. Okay. And once you copy that and email it, they can use it to query different things to follow that. But if you really want to be exact with it, you really want to have a course or do some professional learning about going in and creating your own chatbot. Because when you create that, you can see that you can go in and upload files and different things of that nature that you're going to draw information from. Does that make sense? So for example, go ahead, Chris.
Just saying yes.
Yep. So if I wanted to do and you got to be careful what kind of information you put out there, but if I wanted to do to talk about my budget or my personal situation, I will want to, or like for my dog, this is the perfect example. I created a chat bot for my dog and it's called the Canine Cuisine Guide. And I just can dog eat avocados, but if in the background, I put source documents that I wanted it to go from instead of the internet that I trust. So that, I mean, that I might not trust what I might get. So I give it the documents to search through without me having to go through the documents all the time. Okay. This is cool. When you share, does it open in ChatGPT? It does. I'm pretty sure it does. Yes, that's a great question. Okay. So how did it go? Want to come back? We're going to do a quick reflection about frequently asked questions. I can tell you one example. Some of the teachers were like in America. I've talked to some of our teachers. I heard that some of the principals in Canada, they may not be as much on your role. You have instructional coaches, but for an instructional coach, you may think of you're constantly here. We deal with lesson planning a lot. So you may have or observations, and you may the teacher does not always have access to their principal, to their vice principal, to their instructional coach. So if you spend time training some of those frequently asked questions of, what should I do here? Is my lesson matched up with what the outcome should be for the school, the goals of the school? You can upload documents, sample lesson plans, sample information, and you can start querying and training it yourself so you can, save some time that way. And, you can even have a couple of people to test it out for you before you roll it out. It's just an option. So that, may be a time saver as well when you do your frequently asked questions. Okay, any more comments before we move on to activity 3? And again, as you can see, what's beautiful about this, when you sign up for the free version, they'll be saved for you. And you can go back at any time and keep refining. Okay. Activity 3, we're doing good on time. We have about 12 minutes left. Now, Chris, I know you were talking about this. You feel a little uncomfortable, and I can tell you that there was a case a while back when ChatGPT came out, and there was a school, I can't remember exactly, some kind of tragedy. Let's just say a tragedy. And they wrote the response using ChatGPT. It wasn't in their tone. It wasn't any of those things. So when I say sensitive information, look at this example, a minor power outage. Imagine at your school you have a power outage or something happens with the lunch or, something that's not ordinary. Now you need to communicate with parents. Use this to draft a communication that you can quickly look at without having to, dive in too deeply. So what I task you with is to write a reassuring message to parents about a minor power outage at school or something else and explain that all students and staff are safe or whatever situation. Think about a situation in the past where you may have had to quickly let parents know something that was happening, or teachers, or something of that nature? Oops, go back. Have you had any of those situations that anyone can share? Like, man, something came up and I need to write, like, for example, somebody had to write something about the new bus route. The bus where they pick up, not the bus route, but the cars where they pick up the kids for school. A new process was rolled out at their school. It was a document. So they uploaded that and they were able to come up with a communication to parents about how to pick up their kids. And then they just read through it to make sure it was accurate. Match it to the curriculum for lesson planning possibly. Absolutely. That's going back to the other one, but yes, you can definitely do that. You can upload the curriculum. You can go for lesson planning and differentiation. We're not talking about that tonight, but you can do so much so fast with that. That, be another session. But my sister is a reading specialist, and she actually uses it to create stories for the kids where they can put their own names and people and things that they're interested in, and they're able to create their own stories that are interest to them. And she could create stories for them to read based on their interests when they fill out. Who would have time to do that normally? She could do it in seconds. So I'll give you about 4 more minutes to create a communication, and then I'd like you to share kind of what your prompt was and what you received from the chat. Hmm. This is a real one for me. When I used to be a principal. Okay. So I just did one. I'm a principal. We just had a water main break. And we need to send students home. Please draft the email for parents. It will be fixed tomorrow. That was my prompt. And let's see what we get here. Okay, let me screen share. There we go. All right, informing that we experienced a water main break in our school. For health and safety of all students, we must dismiss students early today. Repairs are already underway. Dismissal time, pickup location, transportation, you could put those things in and draft an actual email for parents. We'll give you about 1 more minute. Oh, there's someone in the chat. Great, Maureen. Yay. Okay, so a quick reflection. How did ChatGPT help you in crafting a calm and empathetic tone? And think about that, the tone of the letter. What would you say to it to, make it more friendly? How would you feel using AI for similar sensitive communications in the future, Chris?
You know what? I went in a slightly different direction. What I did was I gave it this prompt. So we've had a couple of violent incidences at school since school started. They've been off property, but they've been close to our school.
Mm.
And so I said that acting as a principal at the conclusion of each of those, they've been to the degree to which our board office has got involved in our communications team, and they craft the messages and then give them to the principal to send out. But what I wanted to do was create a prompt and then compare the two messages. So my prompt was, acting as a principal, can you please create a communication that reassures parents and students, that addresses two recent violent incidents that occurred off school property, but during the school day. The message should be reassuring, but also highlight the importance of students making good decisions both in and out of school. And it gave me a bunch of stuff, and basically an intro and then a section about guiding our students to make safe choices, a section about how we are supporting our students, and a section about how families can help. So I'm actually impressed that I admitted I forgot to include like supports for students or anything like that, but it remembered to put it in, so that's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, the tone and some of the information is very similar to what our communications team has sent us a couple of times. So puts my mind at a little bit ease.
Good, good. Anyone else want to share what they put in? Lisa, I thought you were going to share for a moment. You came on, then you went off. Anyone else? I know Lisa shared that. I think it was Lisa. Someone said it was Maureen with doing memos.
I was just horsing around and I put in like a party invitation and it added the RSVP. I hadn't told it to do that, but it added the RSVP for me.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. Some things that, in an ad that you weren't thinking about. And and this is what the real thing is. It's not about, it's about enhancing, right? You're still prompting, you're still there using and enhancing. You're still gonna, have to be involved and give it the information. So as we wrap up tonight, we have a few more minutes, but I really want to talk about, just open this time up about things that you might want to commit to, because I want to get that AI mindset going. So think about it. What could you commit to? Could you commit to trying to use ChatGPT weekly? Maybe it doesn't have to be a parent update or a frequently FAQ response. If you haven't looked at Canva, I know everyone should know about Canva. If you don't, please check it out. It's a great way to do newsletters and take that information that you're getting from ChatGPT and put it in a pretty format. And then some of you have talked about Microsoft Copilot. If you go into there, you'll see it right in the upper right-hand corner of the screen where you can actually prompt it and it could create slides to get you started. And then so in the chat, share something you learned during this session that you hadn't thought about, or something you learned tonight that you will use to support you in your role. And that's the commitment. So I'll do a round for everyone. Something you learned new tonight, or something you're going to commit to going forward to keep this AI mindset. Okay, Maureen shared in the chat. Helps with editing and shortening memos, emails, and letters. So Maureen, what can you commit to? Everybody's pondering. That's your exit ticket.
I've used it and become a little bit familiar with Copilot and ChatGPT, but I think just for me, it's continuing to think of small ways where I get like certain things where I'm very comfortable in creating very specific prompts to get the most accurate information, and then maybe expanding from there.
Maurice said, ask for paid version to keep research exploring differences in Copilot and ChatGPT. I agree. Check with my IT and privacy officer. Yes. I think it's a very good investment. Having tried ChatGPT, never tried ChatGPT prior to tonight, I am wow. I will commit to using ChatGPT once per day or even just to compare what I'm working on. Love it. Love it. Love it. And final person, Eunice? Okay. Are you there, Eunice? I don't want to leave you out. I don't want to rush you either. Okay, well, it is, oh, happy exploring all. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. I hope you enjoyed your time tonight. I am actually hope to, see you in further sessions. I know that Chris said he would be at future sessions. I'm on LinkedIn. You'll get these slide decks, and I look forward to continuing to learn with you and share. So have a great evening. And if you want to stick around and ask some questions or talk a little bit more, I'll hang around for a few minutes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Chris.
Thanks, Madeline.
Bye, Maureen.
Okay, take care. See you next time.
All righty. I look for you.
Okay.
Future sessions. I know we get like the topics are, I'm just going to pull up my email here just so I can see how AI can enhance your instructional leadership and data-driven